there, I'm Calvin,
Lindsay.
and this is Picayune Conversations, where we get together and have dweeby, nerdy,
Random.
niche, keep going with the adjectives, I'm setting you up, whatever,
Suspicious.
conversations about a whole host of things. If you've listened to us before, you probably know how chaotic this is, and if you haven't, well, welcome to the circus. This is a fun little thing, though, and we do find that these conversations are both helpful for us, and hopefully they're a little bit helpful for you at least. So, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, he let me surprise him, so that's what I'm going to do. I've been seeing all these posts on Instagram about this, and I'm not going to get into the science of it. I just want to talk about the idea of millennial parenting and why it feels so heavy and exhausting.
Okay, so first of all, let's talk about what millennials are.
Go ahead. Us.
I don't know the years on this, but yeah, we're certainly millennials.
It's like 87 to 2000 or something.
So, yeah, something like that. So before Gen Z, after Gen X, if I'm remembering right, something like this. And of course, there are overlapping things with generations, so it gets a little tricky. But that's kind of what we're talking about. Folks who are really young-ish parents is pretty much what we're talking about. Kids probably are in elementary school,
Yeah.
early middle school,
Yeah.
something like that. Okay. So, what about millennial parenting have you been hearing?
Well, I think it'd be great to start out by just asking, like, what is the hardest part about parenting for each of us? But I was going to ask you, what's the hardest part about parenting right now?
Okay, interesting.
As a millennial parent.
Okay. Well, I think a few things come to mind. And to be fair, I say this as somebody who I don't really find parenting particularly hard right now. And a lot of that's that I just have two amazing kiddos who are, they're very low maintenance in terms of, what is required in terms of parenting. My son is 10 and we're about to enter into adolescent era, which maybe will get a little bit more interesting. But for right now, the kids are pretty easy. I think there's a few things. One is that it does feel that there are just so many very loud opinions about what it is that you're supposed to be doing and not doing as a parent. And there's a degree to which I'm really thankful for that, and perhaps even a degree to which I think there's a level of that maybe has been around for a while. Like, people have had strong opinions about this, but I think things, not that I'm an active participant in this community, but the existence of things like they call them mommy blogs, that is something that I don't think that, let's say, our parents, I don't think that they were privy to that. Maybe they got a radio program or they got some mini lecture from somebody at church or something like that. But, and obviously parenting books and such, but not this constant, 24 hours a day inundation of, if you're doing this, you're a bad parent. If you're not doing this, you're a bad parent, so on and so forth.
You just always feel like you're failing.
Yeah, I mean, and just be clear, like, that's from, what kind of relationship are you curating for your child with technology, to what are you feeding them, what are you not feeding them, are you giving them their vitamins, what time are you putting them to bed, did you bottle feed them, did you not bottle feed them, did you let them cry it out, how do you handle behavior issues, do you spank your children, do you not spank your children, sunscreen, it feels like are you using mineral sunscreen like a person who loves their child, or using the horrible banana
CVS
boat
brand
that's going to give them cancer by the age of 11. I mean, and we're being a little facetious here, but I mean, not that much. Like, it feels like there's so much pressure and so much like being a good parent hangs in the balance on every little decision, even like what sunscreen you put on your kid sometimes. So that's what I guess occurs to me. And I say that as somebody who has, I think, in many ways been fairly free of those kinds of pressures, but I'm aware that for our generation, I think those things are very present. What comes to mind for you?
And this is something I feel like I talk a lot about in my office, but not responding is so hard. Especially with something like, because one of my memorable observations, I think you probably already know this, but is like, make sure that appearances aren't everything. Like, who they are, what they do is more important than like what they look like.
Okay.
Basically.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to to keep that up. So when she responds, my daughter, and she's almost 6, responds in a way that I would have been treated with criticism or something negative, something humiliating, I would even venture to say, and not without intent, but just to shame. I instead just like pause. I have my little like first thought, and it's reactive, but then giving myself just like a second to pause. I'm giving myself control. I'm showing her, hey, you can regulate this, because that's really all encouragement is, right? Is like belief plus regulation.
Okay, yeah, like a regulated confidence in your child.
Yeah, and the encouragement is in that gap between impulse and intention.
Okay.
And it's just really hard for me to not just be like get really upset, especially when it has to do with like maybe we're in Target, and it's that appearances thing, like what kind of parent do I look like right now, or I'm mostly it's like I'm a crappy mom, is where my brain goes, but yeah, and doing all of that while giving myself grace. I think that's comes to one of my like favorite points about this that I talk about with my clients. I'm like, yeah, you're tired because we're doing 2 jobs at once. We're parenting forward, like, and not to mention we're doing so with, we did not have models of, not generally, most of us did not have models of respectful authority. And now we're like having to, in the moment, like be kind, firm, and respectful, while also regulating our own emotions. And so we're not just parenting forward, we're also healing backward. Like it's a lot going on. Like it's not that you're failing, you're just working really hard.
Yeah, which is why I think it can get, I think this is half the trouble with our generation and how we've approached parenting, is that I think that we are working so hard, and we're so earnest about how it is that we want to handle the challenge of parenting and child rearing, and we have such strong opinions about how to treat children, and this real desire to do right by them, and I think all that is really wonderful. And then the flip side of that is that we do too much, like way too much.
We swung in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah, I mean, there's such and I know we have these ideas of like helicopter parents being these high control people who are constantly, setting, 80,000 rules over how to tie your shoes or something like that. And that of course, that's a way to helicopter parent. But there's another way to helicopter parent where you feel like you have to create an emotionally corrective or redemptive experience for your child all day, every day. And actually that is not true. Kids are chronically underestimated in their ability to be resilient and to figure things out on their own. And also, like, I'll do these little things that to me, let's say maybe something happened to me as a kid that was really hard and really hurtful, or just like even devastating. And then you end up doing that to your kid, even maybe unintentionally. And by the way, I'm not talking about abuse. This is not what I'm talking about.
Hard line.
This is not. You end up doing that to your kid, and you're like, oh my gosh, like I've ruined, I've created a devastating experience for my child. And then you check in with them, and they're like, yeah, I'm over it. Like, and maybe that's them being young, and maybe at some later point they'll find out that they were in fact devastated by that. But I think we need to remember that our kids are not us, and also it has never been the job of a parent to completely manage a child's emotional life. That is their responsibility. That is their job. And certainly we can have influence, and let's not make things worse. Let's not do whatever. But I think sometimes we get so hands-on in our attempt to make sure that, I want them to have a good childhood, and I want them not to be, as damaged as I was, and I want them not to have this hurt and this discouragement and,
or just
this.
not be an asshole.
Yeah, and like all those things. And then it's just like we're doing way too much.
Yeah.
Way too much.
Which I mean, if I had to pick one, like suppressed or not, like I would like to go in that direction. But I do think, how did I phrase it? I thought of this in the car on the way to work. Come back to me. Oh, so it's like I think we're also tired because we are consciously parenting, I would say. And I feel like our predecessors were more on like autopilot, and like that costs energy. Conscious parenting costs a lot of emotional energy, I feel like. And I feel like it gets like shat upon a lot, but I get why Gen X or whoever suppressed everything. Like that's how they survived. I get it. And now we are like, we're letting ourselves feel things that are inconvenient and overstimulated while like trying to be kind at the same time. And I lost my train of thought.
Well, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I do think that part of what we need to do in response to this is calm down. I think that there is this drive in us to be like, well, we're going to be better. We're going to be better than the generation that came before, and there's part of that that I think is really virtuous. And I hope that our children end up being people who want to do better than we did, that want to do better by their children than we did by them. And so part of that is virtuous. And then part of it, I think, is it like borders on being vengeful, and certainly is competitive, where we're like, well, we're going to show, our boomer parents how this should really go. And then it becomes this kind of performance that we put on that really, at the end of the day, when we look at the data, has absolutely nothing to do with the well-being of children. Like, children who have parents who are incessantly intervening and incessantly protecting and managing and ensuring that they have an enriched environment at all times, and that they're, whatever, that we sit down and have, a 30-minute attuned conversation about their scraped knee, like the data does not back up that is good for children. And in fact, what the data would show is that is really not very good for children.
It's not respectful.
Children need to figure things out on their own. They need to scrape their knee. And yes, they need an attuned parent who will check in with them, let them know that they see, understand, and care, and then get out of their business and let them figure out when they are ready to get back to playing or not. And so I do think that there is this kind of virtue badge that our generation likes to wear sometimes, of like, we're parenting right. And maybe there's a degree to which that's correct, and I certainly feel thankful for some of the things that I learned about how to parent. And this is not to crap on my parents, who I think in many ways did a marvelous job, and to whom I am immensely grateful, and made significant improvements from the generation that parented them, and like whatever. But I'm thankful that there were some things that I did differently, and I'm continuing to do differently than my parents. But then at the end of the day, it's like, it's not about, it's not a competition, first of all. It's about children and making sure that they're getting what they need. And maybe what they need is for us to stop performing this act of, I am the best parent who has ever walked the planet. And I will only use mineral sunscreen and feed my children organic eggs, or, whatever it is. I'm not presuming to have an opinion so much on organic eggs or mineral sunscreen. What I'm saying is that at some point it becomes more about performing a part as this like Madonna parent, who just floats around on a cloud of holiness or something. And I think that's it. It's like we can complain about being exhausted, and then there's a level to which it's like, we're exhausted because we're doing that.
Yeah, and it's not respectful because we're not teaching them how to regulate their own stuff.
Yeah, well, and it's about us.
Yeah,
it's about
us.
It's not even about what's good for the kids.
It's
and so
totally self-centered.
there is a level to which we just need to like let some things go. Let's make some meaningful corrections, and then let's let the rest of this go and allow children to be children. And you know what? Maybe they are going to spend 8 hours someday playing video games. And is that ideal? No.
We did it.
Is it catastrophic? No. It's just really not.
Nope.
It's really not. Is there some middle ground that we can take where we can put some reasonable boundaries on things, intervene in a few ways, be attuned to our children, let them know that we see, that we understand, that we care, be responsive, whatever. We can do that. And then also there's like 90% of the rest that we can just be like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not that big a deal.
It's really not.
Yeah.
As long as you're connected or you get reconnected.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we need to teach them to belong, not to behave.
Yeah, what a way to say it, right? And a friend of mine, our kids are friends with each other, and so my son and daughter are over at their house a few days a week, and so my son and his son ride their bikes down to this park, or they walk down to this park close to their house, and we don't know what they're doing down there, To which I say, good. They good for them that we don't know what they're doing. So then he told me that he gets this picture or a video or something of them at the park, and I'm like, oh no, what's he gonna tell me now?
So
what were they doing? And it turns out that there was some kid down there with maybe a developmental disability or physical disability, and these two boys, my son and his son, are helping him get his shoes on. And what's so great about this, right, is that nothing happened where there was a parent being like, well, now let's have a little chat about children with disabilities, and here's all the ways to treat them, and here's what you should do, and so therefore, why don't you go over there and help them with the shoes, and here are the words to say, and here are the words not to say, and here's how you treat people with disabilities, and here's how you don't. And instead, they're just out there, they're just figuring it out.
Yeah.
And you know what? These are two kids with really decent character, who are figuring it out, and it turns out, what do you know, that they make an excellent decision to contribute. Neither of them are angels, like they're human beings.
I think he's an angel.
I kind of feel that way too. But at the end of the day,
trying to be humble.
These are imperfect people living imperfect lives. I'm certain that there are times that they do not make such a virtuous decision. But this is just one moment where it's like, if a parent's there, constantly directing, constantly intervening, constantly having some little chit chat, making sure that they say the right words and that they don't say the wrong words, and that they are all instructed all the time about what to do and how to think about things and how to experience the world. I'm actually not convinced that moment ends up happening if there's some parent there. And so if you're a millennial parent listening to this conversation today, we want to thank you for whatever efforts you are making, genuinely. Thank you for doing that. We know it's hard. We're with you in the difficulty of it. And also, maybe lay off a little bit. Find some kind of fat to trim where you can get more out of your child's life. And I don't mean, ignore them and be cold and, stare at your phone for 16 hours. I mean, there's probably something that you are doing that you really don't have to be doing. Yeah. And you're doing it with a good heart, but you probably don't need to be doing it.
I think that if we aren't suppressing our feelings, which we need to not do, and I get that older generations did it because that's how they survived. We're busy enough, so lay off, because we are busy enough metabolizing our feelings. That's why we're tired. It's a good reason to be tired, and stop doing things that are not your task. That doesn't teach them anything other than to rely on you, and that's selfish.
Yeah. So I do feel like, okay, unique challenges that face our generation. Some really unique work that we are engaged in terms of changing some patterns, doing some reparenting of ourselves. And again, that's not to speak ill of our parents, but just to acknowledge the reality that there were things that could have gone one way that it would have been better that didn't go that way. And that's, I'm sure our children would be able to say the same thing about us as parents. But yeah, also, probably more than anything, one of the things, we need some compassion for ourselves that this is really hard, and also we need to take responsibility for our participation in our own exhaustion by laying off, doing a little bit less, finding some kind of fat to trim in terms of the effort and the energy that we are expending in trying to do right by our kids.
Just let yourself be a little uncomfortable, or a lot uncomfortable.
Yeah.
A little mantra I sometimes tell myself is I'm tired, or I'm exhausted because I'm changing patterns. Keep it up. I have to encourage myself because it gets really hard.
Mm-hmm. It is a challenge, and so because of that, we probably need also to just leave ourselves some room to do it imperfectly, and leave room for us to be human beings too. Just of like, we get tired, and you know what's not great modeling to a child is to ignore your exhaustion and just frantically overdo. Like that's not great parenting. We even maybe we've talked about this before in a prior podcast, but I'm always reminded of what Paul Rasmussen said to me one time. I'm not even sure he'll remember saying this, but when I was studying under him in undergraduate, he said, there's no such thing as perfect parents, and if there were, they would be terrible parents.
Yeah, that does not serve them. It's not respectful, because then they grow up thinking they have to be perfect and they don't make mistakes.
Yeah.
And then you leave college or high school and you're like, oh my God.
And they don't have a model for how does they never watch somebody be a model of how to handle or how to cope with or how to repair, right, or any of those things dealing with their imperfections. And so it's not that, like, don't go out of your way to do something bad to your child. Obviously, I don't mean that, but you don't have to go out of your way for that to happen. Yeah. When those things happen, show them, take some comfort in the fact that you were modeling how to repair, how to come back, how to cope, how to engage in some self-care, like whatever. That is going to be actually so much more helpful for them than you being this absolute rock star of a parent who is constantly creating these like emotionally redemptive moments for them. That's it's really not so much what kids need. So
I agree. It's a good place to stop. Otherwise, we'll just keep talking.
We'll keep talking.
Yes.
So thanks for listening. Appreciate you.